Welcome a governor that beat the NRA, passed landmark environmental regulations, and made Colorado the #1 economy in the country. Former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper.
Well, good. Hello. Good morning, Cedar Rapids. I want to thank all of you for being out here in the hot sun. I've been here for about 3 hours. I know what the heat is like. I want to start by saying that, like many of you, I come from a place that we knew our share of hard times. My mother grew up in the Depression. She'd sold all her own clothes. She was widowed twice by the time she was 40 years old. And she would tell us that you cannot control what life throws at your way, but you can control how you respond, whether it makes you better or worse or stronger or weaker. And I look at what Donald Trump has thrown our way, or what I should say, fate has thrown Donald Trump in our way. And we can't control that he's in our way, but we can control how we respond, and we can control that we make sure that he is a one-term president. This country used to be a place where the middle class grow, where the economy worked for everyone, where someone just getting their arm on the economic ladder could pull themselves up, and that's no longer the case. We know that we will never be able to address the big challenges we face if our economy isn't growing and it isn't a place for opportunity for every person, every man, woman, and child in this country. We are facing a national crisis of division, and a big part of that division is facing these challenges like climate change, right? Making sure that we have the skills and education so our kids can get high-quality jobs, making sure that we get universal health care. And in issue after issue, I hold out that what we've done in Colorado is bring people together and demonstrate that you can still do these progressive achievements. We did all these in Colorado, and in the process we made our state stronger, and in the process we made ourselves a model for what this country can be. Now, I hold myself out, and my mother, looking down from heaven, taught me not to be bragging. But I hold myself out as the one candidate who actually started a small business from scratch and built it up into a real success, who was a mayor that in 2.5 years, Time Magazine called me one of the top 5 big city mayors in the country, and as an eight-year governor of Colorado, really did deliver some of the big progressive challenges that Washington hasn't been able to deliver for us. In every case, we did this by getting people to work together. I've helped start 20 businesses. I created over 1,000 jobs. We were able to balance, both as mayor and as governor, 16 different budgets in a row, and I've never had a scandal, unlike our present president. Now I'm going to give you a couple quick examples of places where we have been able to bring people together and do big things. Because to beat Donald Trump, and I think every one of us have to be passionate and committed that Donald Trump is a one-term president. To beat him in Ohio, to beat him in North Carolina, to beat him in Iowa, I think we're going to have to demonstrate that we can deliver the kitchen table cares and the concerns. We can deliver on the kitchen table concerns that Americans have all across this country. In Colorado, we were able to bring together all the mayors in the metro area, 2/3 of them Republicans, to create Fast Tracks, the largest and most ambitious transit initiative in modern American history. We were able, as mayor, I was able to bring together the pastors and reverends in the African-American community to create real police reform 10 years before Ferguson. And having the pastors and the reverends work with the police union to really create change was a powerful example to see. We got to near universal health care coverage in Colorado, and in the process controlled cost. We were able to get the oil and gas industry with the environmental community in the same room, it took 14 months, but we created methane regulations. We're the first state in America to ever take on the oil and gas industry and create methane regulations. We created an expanded skills-based training program, an apprenticeship program that's now being copied in 26 states. And over the last 3 years, we have become the #1 economy in the entire United States, and it's an economy where the middle class is expanding. Now you look at what Trump has done, what Trump and his minions have done to Iowa. His tariffs have hurt the farmers of Iowa and the farmers of America. Right? We know, you talk to any economist at any university, there is no example in world history of a tariff war that ever has a winner. Tariff wars are for losers. Both sides will come out worse in the end. And we have to recognize that right now the subsidy, the bailout that Trump is trying to provide is insufficient for the farmers, and he's just borrowing money that'll have to be repaid by our children and our grandchildren. You look at what we've done, what his minions have done in Iowa to restrict women's freedom. In Colorado, we expanded women's reproductive rights. For 8 years, we expanded and provide long-acting reversible contraception, and we reduced unintended pregnancy in Colorado by 54%. And we reduced teenage abortion in Colorado by 64%. As president, I want to deliver on the big progressive goals that everybody else is just talking about, right? We've done it in Colorado. What we've done, we can expand and do across America. And with that vision of actually having done it, that's how we beat Trump. It's how we beat Trump in Michigan, how we beat Trump in Pennsylvania, how we beat Trump in Iowa. Now, we need to recognize we're going to have to make investments. We need to invest in ourselves. We have to invest in education and skills training. We have to invest in infrastructure. We have to invest in housing. We have to invest in health care. We also have to recognize that we are going to create an economy with those investments that will finally, once and for all, begin the expansion of the middle class in this country again, something that hasn't happened in 30 years. We need to give every single American an equal and fair shot at creating their version of the American dream. We need to have a humane immigration policy that helps good people become citizens, helps secure our borders, and helps protect American workers. I will bring honesty and decency back to the White House. We will restore Americans' standing in the world. You cannot solve the problems that we're being faced with, climate change, cybersecurity, global pandemics like Ebola. We cannot address those challenges without constant engagement with the entire world. We need a whole new level of diplomacy that's beyond anything we've known before. I look at, when I first came and was elected governor of Colorado, I look back on those first 4 years. We had the worst droughts in the history of the state, which led to the worst wildfires in the history of Colorado. We had the worst shooting in the Aurora movie theater. We had the worst flood in Colorado history in 2013. In my first 4 years, I went to 34 funerals. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that you cannot go to people who have lost so much and you cannot tell them that you're going to build back what they had. The only way you can restore people's faith in progress in the future is to tell them that you're going to go back and build better than it was before. And whether we're talking about international diplomacy, whether we're talking about taking on climate change, whether we're talking about rebuilding this economy so everyone can have an equal shot at creating the American dream, we cannot go back to where we were before. We have to build it better than it was before. I know that we can do this, and people say, well, you're going to get people to work together. It's not going to be so easy in Washington as maybe it was in Colorado. Nonsense. Everywhere I've gone, it's been hard. When I was at 3 or 4% running for mayor in 2003, and it was the first time I ever ran for anything. I never ran for student council, I think I'm the only person running for president that never ran for class president. And when I was running in 2003, and I was only at 3 or 4% in the polls, I used to carry a clipping from the Denver Post in my pocket to inspire my young volunteers. And it was a clipping about a professor of public speaking at the University of Wyoming. And she was telling her class about the importance of using opposites when you talk publicly. If you're going to talk about the worst of time, you've got to talk about the best of times. If you're going to talk about the agony, you need to talk about the ecstasy. The words gain emotional impact by being close together. Sounds like the party's already starting. Then she said to her class, what's the opposite of despair? And a kid way in the back goes, joy. She goes, exactly. If you want people to hear and really feel the word despair, use joy in the same sentence. The words gain emotional impact by being close together. Then she asked her class, what's the opposite of woe? And the kid way in the back goes, giddy up. And the bottom line is that in almost every life situation, the opposite of giddy up is to work harder. The opposite of giddy up, or the opposite of woe, is to giddy up. And my commitment to you is that after we defeat Donald Trump, we will come together and make this country better than it ever was before, and we will do it together. Thank you so much.